In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. So we're discussing chapter 2 of the Quran, the chapter of the cow, Surah Al-Baqarah. We had been discussing verses number 92 and 93 in the last class. I did mention that verse 93 has a wording that is similar to verse number 63 to a great extent. وَإِذَا أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا أَتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاسْمَعُوا. The other verse, number 63, وَإِذَا أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا أَتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. We mentioned the differences between the two verses, and that the previous verse, number 63, was still in the stage where Allah was reminding the Israelites of His multitude of blessings that He bestowed upon them and upon their nation, so as to motivate them and soften their hearts to come closer to accepting the message of the Prophet Muhammad. And that's why He says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so you might be pious. But here we reach the stage where they have shown all the stubbornness and rejection, and it is the stage where Allah is mentioning the violations and condemning them for these violations. And that is why He says that we took the pledge from you and on the mount, and we raised the Mount Sinai towering above you, saying, hold fast to what we have given you and hear us, means listen and obey, and hear, wasma'u. In the other verse it was وَذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ. Here isma'u means listen, and the other one is dhukuru, means mention ma fi, mention what's in it. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. In the other verse, so that you may become pious. Here he says وَاسْمَعُوا, listen and obey. But then He mentioned how they responded. He says قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا. They said, we listen but we disobey. If you recall, scholars believe that they said, okay, we listen, we will obey, but in practice they did not obey. So as if they said, we listen and we will not obey. So this shows that if somebody says, okay, I'm listening and I'm accepting, but in reality he's doing the exact opposite all the time, then the words that he is saying are nullified by the action, are nullified by the قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا وَعَصَيْنَا, as if they said that. And then Allah said here, قُلْ بِئْسَ مَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِهِ إِيمَانُكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. What wretched a behavior does your belief or your claimed belief, your alleged belief, call you to or command you to do, if you are really true believers? Because they were saying that we believe. This is all in response to their claim that we believe in our book. In the verse number 91. So Allah is showing that no, you don't really believe in your book, and everything you're doing goes against your claim that you believe in your book. You follow? Even the verse before that, Allah said to them, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مُوسَى بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. And Moses came to you with clear signs, and when he was gone, when he left you to go and meet like to an appointed time that Allah commanded him to go to the mountain to receive the Torah, you worshipped the calf. وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Similar to this was a previous verse in which Allah says as well, when He was enumerating His blessings, He says, وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 40 لَيْلَةً ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ also. But in the other one He says after it, ثُمَّ عَفَوْنَا عَنْكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. But then despite that, we have forgiven you. After all that you've done, we have forgiven you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, so you might be grateful. So you can see the difference in the wording and the difference in the language. Over there, Allah is saying, you did this and I still forgive you, so that you may become grateful. But here, He's not saying that. Allah is just condemning them. Condemnation is showing condemnation for what they have done. And He says, وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. Now, we will conclude this with بِئْسَ مَا يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِهِ إِيمَانُكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. That your belief is, the belief that you claim is commanding you to do evil things. And as I mentioned and concluded the last class, that the belief of the person does have control over his actions. And that is why Allah resembled, this is a parable, because the belief is not a subject, is not an individual to command or to prohibit. It's your belief, it's your worldview. But Allah says this worldview and your notion about the world and your beliefs, they command your behavior. We see similar verses like when Allah says, "Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar." The prayer prohibits, as if the prayer is an individual talking to you, saying to you, do not do this or do that. So this is again another simile or another parable. Allah says, "Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar." Also in another verse, "As-salatuka ta'muruka and natruka ma ya'budu aba'una." When the people of Shu'aib said to him, "Is your salah commanding you to tell us not to worship?" You see that? So the salah itself is commanding. And here as well, the iman itself commands. The belief also commands the person, and his practices have an effect on his life as a whole and his other behaviors. We will stop here.